All right, hello, test, test. Let's turn this down a little bit. Okay. So what we're doing here exactly is I'm going to be working on a couple of my agents that track market data, and I think or thought it would be a good idea just to do it live or record it. So one, that I can learn, and two, if anyone is actually interested in any of this, they can take a look at my thought process. And maybe there's some people out there that are, further along than I am and could give me some tips or help. So I'll just explain the setup first, which is that I have my agents open in Claude Code here. So Violet, Brent, Sam, Labor, and Carl, and they each track a different specific section of the market. So Violet is just volatility, VIX, basically just the uncertainty in the market as it goes up and down, which will affect options and all sorts of other stuff you guys probably already know about. Brent is just simply oil. So obviously I care about this because of everything going on in the world, and I'm just trying to get a good grasp on things like, the strategic reserves going down, if this thing in Hormuz is actually getting settled or not. Sam only cares about Japan. I know the name's a little odd, but it's just short for samurai. So things like the Japanese bond market, the yen carry trade, basically anything that happens over there that would affect the United States. So you can think about whether or not the Japanese are going to continue buying U.S. treasuries, if they're going to continue buying equities, things like that. Labor, pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to be the job market. And Carl, the consumer. So Carl is just the strength of the consumer, things like debt, bills, any kind of signals of weakness or struggle I try and pay attention to. So things like credit card debt or auto payments that are going late, or rising costs for things like insurance or home ownership, rent, whatever. Here on the right, each one of those agents has a matching orchestration layer, is what I call it. They call these guys orc, basically. They have access to the same repo or folder tree that my agents do, and they simply are like an observer. They watch everything, and this is just to try and minimize or to reduce the chances that I get any hallucinations or inaccuracies. They kind of just double check everything. So I show them the repo, but I tell them this agent orc will not boot up as whoever they're monitoring. They're just like a third party. So they're not going to edit anything, but they're going to watch it closely and make sure there's no problems or issues that it can point out. So on the weekend like this, there's not a lot of live data that's going to be coming in. So I'm kind of just using this time to refine and basically get the folder structure into a good spot. So what's going on here and is we just booted up just a couple minutes ago, so I'm just gonna, go through the live process of how I'm really gonna do this. If I'm doing the work anyway, I figured I might as well stream it or record it and just go from there. So I'm just double checking a lot of the figures we had from close on Friday. So if you look here, already Orc and Violet are going back and forth on a couple different figures. And you might think that putting everything through like another whole layer of LLM is kind of like overkill or ridiculous, but if you do this just even a couple responses, you'll notice that it starts correcting, or they start like bringing up things that could be a mistake later on. And your agent, if you have one or whatever you're doing, will even acknowledge it and be like, yeah, that actually is a good point. So skew here is basically projected forward the cost of calls on VIX, basically. So what that is people, or I guess investment firms, buying protection against the market in the future. So we're keeping track of that. It's one of the things Violet cares about more than anything else, is the skew. So we're trying to see, is the price of protection, meaning calls on the VIX to go up, staying expensive, which would indicate that people are still worried that we're going to have some uncertainty coming up. As of this past week, VIX has gone down from like the heights of the Iran war. And in spite of that, the price of future positions on the VIX still remains relatively expensive. So although VIX has gone down, there's reason to believe that at least somebody out there is thinking this thing isn't over yet. So that's why we're paying attention to that. Okay. So what I'm doing here is just letting Orc know that Violet agreed with him for the most part. And a lot of times what I like to do is when one agent is working, or if I'm waiting on a response like this, just hop over to the next window. Or Brent, again, this is just tracking oil. And for Brent, right now I'm just trying to catch him up, because things are moving so quickly with the war, with oil. It's very hard to keep up. But just to kind of, I guess, basically run you through this, we're trying to track demand destruction, which is going to be, is the consumer or our companies buying less oil because of either rising prices or fear of rising prices. So that's one of the things we're trying to keep an eye on, because obviously that's going to affect the whole economy. HYOAS, I actually just told Brent to remove this from our tracking, because really it's not his domain. It's one of the things you kind of have to keep these guys on a short leash about, is they want to incorporate everything into their own tracking, you know. I only want Brent to focus on oil, but HYOAS, that's like tracking credit. And all of these guys are sharing the same repo. So what that means is they all have the same kind of like folder tree at a higher level. I guess what I mean by that is, I could show you. They all live inside the same repo on GitHub, where they push all this to. So what you'll see sometimes is, if you ever see anything that says like file tree is still dirty under so-and-so's name, that's what's going on. But the way I have it set up, not necessarily a problem. So they each have their own siloed off. I like to try it and have them all pushed to GitHub at the same time, and normally it works out okay. The only kind of issues I've run into is if I want to run like 5 agents here on my desktop and I want to run like 5 on my laptop, just to kind of spread out the requirements or spread out the work. Then that's a little bit of a problem of them all pushing together. So what I did here is just let my orchestrator for Brent know that this is what our suite found out. This is what we fixed and want to fix going on. I want to look at Sam here because I haven't run him in a couple of days, and I know there's been some news on the Japanese front. Mainly what I care about here is going to be whether they're going to raise rates or not. And if they raise rates, it should make the value of the yen higher over there. And why that matters is if the yen goes up in its value, it strengthens when compared to the dollar. So when you see that, it could affect other things. So like if the yen is worth more, then obviously the Japanese are going to be more likely to probably invest locally, less likely to go invest in the US. But nothing there is for sure. So we have to just kind of keep an eye on it. It's just one of the things that can change. Okay, so I'm going to start with status. Shoot. All right. I'm doing it this way just because I want to keep the tables in line to read. And I found that when I do it this way, they're able to read it no problem. I kind of act as the bridge between these two to let them know what the other one's doing. So what I'm doing here, Sam is giving me 3 questions on how we want to update our file tree, which we call domain, or I call domain. The first one's a little more complicated, so I just want to go through it a little bit deeper. Second is just like, yes, let's update our thesis with what are the new information saying, and we definitely want to do a status refresh, which status is just like a brief 1-page MD document that's like where the agent is. How it works is each time I boot up Sam, it has like a more in-depth memory, which is going to be basically, I'd say an Excel spreadsheet, but it's not that. It's a tab-separated MD document, really. So it's basically a table without the table. And how I like to operate here is I'm okay answering Q2, Q3, no problem. That makes sense. Q1, what do you think? And then I'm going to see what orc thinks as well. And while they're both thinking, now I'll move on to the next agent. Labor, this is focusing on the job market, where we did get some news this past week, and I think at least one of the reports was pretty positive. And I haven't run labor since June 8th or 9th, so we've got a couple of days worth of updates we need to put in here. Initial claims went up, so more people are unemployment claiming, but I think we did have a positive jobs report, and maybe that was already captured by the 8th. And honestly, every other day it seems like some big tech giant is doing a big layoff, but you know, how do you even quantify that or put it all together? I still like to record it just so like maybe the agent or the LLM can kind of like pattern match, but still not quite sure how to use the data except for just, you know, noting it. Let's see what. So the first thing Orc did here was verify everything it had committed from the previous session. So I'm going to have Liquid run through those and see if there's anything it agrees with or disagrees, or if there's changes that should be made. I have to explain this because I still haven't documented it in their startup context that Orc even exists. I know I need to do that, but it's only been around for a couple days. What I'm doing here is just explaining that although I want to share this feedback, I don't want the agent to take it as like the word of God. I want it to do its own verification of what is being suggested. Why I do that is because if it's coming from me, a lot of times the agent will just 100% accept it as fact and not really second guess it. If I tell it, hey, this came from another LLM, and be careful about it, it will, push back or offer its thoughts, and maybe there's something that the orchestration agent hadn't noticed or doesn't know. And Labor is right. I called him the wrong name, so he's correcting me there, which is fine. Oh, shoot. What did I just do? Okay. Okay. I'm just going to give him all of this. All right, so I've gone through all 5 of my agents in one sweep. Now I'm going to go back to the first one, Violet, and try and move that one forward an inch too. So what I like about my setup here is while the orchestration agent will help me in directing, Violet, it's also going to give me, outside advice or help or direction as well. So like this is just for me to know without telling the agent everything that's going on. The other thing I like about this setup is if there's something, a lot of this economic and market jargon is unfamiliar to me in some ways, and so I like to be able to ask this other layer I have, like, can you like just explain this to me as if I'm dumb? And I can do that without kind of taxing the agent I have doing most of the real work. And I've seen M1, M2 brought up a lot, and so I just kind of want to make sure I actually understand what we're talking about. And while I'm waiting for that reply, I'll just go to the next agent. All right, so now under Brent, what's going on is he's saying, hey, our workbook is pretty stale. And it's true. The workbook is basically a series of, it's like the knowledge base. So everything it wants to commit to a more permanent memory, it puts in this knowledge base, or KB. It's basically just a large database where it's storing like semi-permanent memory. And why I use this, or what we use this for, is because I keep rebooting up these agents, endlessly, for lack of a better term. It gives them a lasting context. I can bring it over from one session to the next. But it's my job to make sure we keep it updated. So he's just telling me or letting me know, hey, like, we haven't looked at this in like a month. We better take a look because a lot of this is probably stale. And that's completely accurate, and I'm happy he did that. So right now I'm telling him, hey, take a look, run through it. Start with the knowledge base first. Just read it and audit for us and give a report on what's stale and what can or should be done. I do it this way because, like, this is a 155 line, document, and I think it's just going to be too much for it to handle in one back and forth. So it's not going to be able to read through 155 lines, figure out what is old, go do the research to find the new updates, and then rewrite all of that. It's like it's too much context for it to handle in one shot. Now, you should know if you're working with LLMs that it will try to do it, but I just don't really necessarily trust that it's going to do it the right way. And what I mean by that is it could half-ass it, it could hallucinate. So you kind of want to, you just want to give your agent like a fighting chance to actually do the assignment you're giving it. It could hallucinate. And because this is such a big job, I'm going to definitely get our second pair of eyes to take a look at it too. Just making sure I'm actually giving this to the right agent, and I'm not. So what Orc is going to do here is just double check the read that Brent just did of the KB. Now, while he's working on that, I'm going to go back to Violet and see what the M1, M2 was. Now here's where it's going to get really stupid. So I didn't really get as simple as an answer as I wanted from the orchestrator here on Opus 4.8, so I'm just having a haiku dumb it down a little bit more. Oh, wow. I just want to put some notes on this. So what the M1, M2 is telling us for volatility is the near-term calm is priced aggressively, which means VIX is basically being pushed down, the pricing. So it was up pretty high when things got hot in Iran, but now it's being aggressively pushed down, which means people are even shorting the VIX. Quite a few people. Same with oil. It's like it's basically a bet on stability, a bet that everything's going to come to end in a good, positive, or at least non-negative conclusion in Iran. Another way to say it would just be complacency. And I mean, this is what makes LLMs so special, is like, the metric we were just looking at Friday at closing is in the top 30% of steepest contango ever recorded. And you can see this pretty much everywhere in the market, but everything is kind of, all the complacency is just dialed to the max. You know, and they could be right, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay. And just to explain what I'm doing now again. So I'm using the haiku, the dumber haiku, just to like, I kind of want to like just triple check, like, are we for sure taking a look at all the most important metrics that matter to volatility? And I definitely think we are. You know, I know we're working on SKU, and I know we're working on the IV, the M1, the M2, and whatnot. But why I'm going through the effort of checking this is something I've noticed with working with my agents and working with LLMs in general. Even I have, because the folder structure or my file tree is so full of so much context, there could be times where maybe some of these things slip through the cracks and they aren't of like front of mind when I boot up the agent. You know, it is possible. Like I've noticed it many times where I have to explicitly ask about something because, like, say for a week, one of these metrics is really popping off or seeing a lot of action. It moves to the forefront, and then like the agent is primarily concerned about it for a while. And I just want to check to make sure we've got all our, you know, we're counting all our chickens. We're making sure everything is still being measured correctly. This is just an easier way to do it. You know, having a third-party LLM look at the repo and check everything, rather than me go through just, I don't know, like 100 pages of context trying to figure it out, or doing a search, I guess, myself, which I guess I could use, like, you know, run a script to do it or whatever. But trying to make sure my agents are working. I'm trying to make sure this is, you know, if something's not going to work or if something's not running properly, I want to find out this way and use the tools that AI can give me. So he's going to look at that. I'm going to go back to Brent in the meantime. And he's done looking at our workbook, so. That's always a good thing. You want to see that this line in our data was wrong at creation, not just stale. So not great, but let's see what Brent says. All right, well, that's working. We'll go take a look at Sam again. This is his plan for updating the status, which I agree with as the first thing we probably want to handle. And he did do it. So why I'm doing this is rather than me try and transcribe or copy and paste all these changes Sam just made to its status, if I can push it to Origin or push it to GitHub, then my other agent can just read it for himself. And I'd like to try and make this the standard for how they run, but the problem is when I push one of the agents, it either has to push all the other ones or kind of like move their work in the meantime. So we're going to do that. And this is why, again, just highlighting it, why I like to have more than one agent working at the same time, because while I'm waiting on that, it could take like a minute or two, I'll just go move on to labor and see if they've finished their task, which I'm sure they have, because I haven't really gone back to labor in a minute. I don't really love the sound of this. Looks like he's pushing back a little bit against work. And labor is just letting me know he wants to work on his workbook too, because I mean, it is stale, and that's just a common battle I'm facing. And I would love to automate it, but I just haven't found a way to do it that I trust. Because there is, again, it's just so much context that it feels difficult to hand it over to the agent to do regularly without having to double check it, or at least not double check it, help the agent break it up into smaller steps that it can do more comfortably or safely. Now, this is interesting. Carl right here is focusing on Lennar, which is one of the home builders, and I do want Carl to care about housing costs, because it matters, a lot. But I also feel like it might be big enough that it might deserve its own agent that focuses only on housing. So what that would mean is, like, I would hand over responsibility for all of that to be handled by another agent. I even came up with the name of it. It would be Homer. All right, and moving on to back to Violet, so completed another pass. I mean, that's only 2 whole passes of my agents, and they're all kind of chugging away. And Violet is just letting me know that all of Orc's points checked out. No pushback warranted. Great. Love to see it. Oh yeah, that was in a good spot. This is what we cared about, because I was making sure we're checking out everything. Oh. I don't love that Henry has taken over this. And I'll explain why. Violet by far is my most mature or developed agent. I want her handling everything that's even remotely related to her domain, which is volatility. So Henry is kind of like market structure, market history. Like the whole idea behind him was like historical Henry. Like how does the market today stack up or match up versus like the market of the past. So like anytime like there's some historical outlandish, statistic that comes out, like oh yeah, like the 0 days to expiration calls are at like historic levels, or there's more families involved in the market than ever before. That's what I wanted Henry to track, but I find that he's kind of bled into everywhere. So I think I'm really gonna kind of have Violet take back control over this. All right. So what I'm doing here is just replying to Orc and letting him know that last message I said did not come from Violet. It came from like another agent I'm working with that's just helping me understand basic things. And I'm saying like, hey, I might want to make sure Violet's looking at this. Everything else seems to be good. It's all being tracked. But we're going to see what he says here. And again, same pattern as we've been following. I'm going to go back on to the next agent while I wait for a response. And part of the trick here is kind of remembering what you were doing or what you were working on. So for Brent, what were we doing? Oh yeah, it was that wrong knowledge base row. So, oh, that sucks. So I have it to where Brent and most of my agents can just pull directly from Fred or BLS, but he's telling me, or Brent is letting me know, that the SPR series is blocked. I'm not sure why, but I don't need it. I have EIA. And so this is why I like to do this orchestration. So Brent is admitting outright that, yeah, Orc is right. The concern he had regarding that knowledge base row is right, and we need to fix it. So what this is different dates and what the SPR level was. SPR is a Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So as you can see, it's going down, 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 up to June 5th. All right, and although I think this plan sounds good, I do want to, again, just run it by Mr. Orc to make sure it looks good for him. So I'm just saying, hey, good call. You don't need to do that. I think it's just my dumb brain that makes me want to do that. Here is the plan we have to fix. Thoughts? Again, I'm just using the screen cap because I just like to have the rows look correct if I ever want to go back and see it. I'm pretty sure the agent has no problem reading it either way. What's going on with Sam? Oh wow, that's a lot. Okay. A lot of changes here. Okay, and we're missing a lot of things too. Damn. So Orc is actually pretty pissed off. Not pissed off, pretty giving me a mouthful of all the things wrong with my agent right now. And you'll see Brent's getting mentioned a lot here, and the reason that is that Japan is very susceptible to oil pricing. And so at first, what it's doing is it's correcting me. At first, when oil was rising sharply, it was like, hey, this is matter. Like Sam was like, this matters a lot. We need to like really document this everywhere, and like this is big. Like this will start moving or causing trouble with inflation in Japan, which would then lead to them, adjusting their rates and doing a hike. And while that's still probably the case, because oil has like dive bombed this past week, it's kind of made things a bit easier. And I'm seeing here that Orc is kind of zeroing in on this absence of Ueda, and I'm probably going to say some of these names wrong, like I'm reading them without ever hearing them in existence, but I just happen to know that I think that's one of the Bank of Japan members that's making the rate decisions. And Sam had given me some news that they're going through like a surgery or something, so they're not going to be there. And Orc is basically zeroing in like, hey, who is this? Why does it matter? Why do we care? And I'm saying like, just giving it a reminder, and hopefully he'll do just a quick live search to confirm what I'm saying and maybe figure out why it matters. But in the meantime, I am going to probably give the rest of this to Sam just so he can start making some corrections while we wait. Oh God, I'm hoping I'm spelling that right. You. So Sam's going to read back the rest of that, and I just let him know that, like, don't worry about the Ueda mention. I'm handling that. I just don't want him to, like, worry about trying to respond and update the work. And yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about as far as labor. Labor pushed back on a couple of the points that work made. So what's happening here is the labor org is just mentioning like, hey, I don't see this commit that labor's mentioning on live, and yeah, I'm just telling them, hey, that's normal. Like I have to push in order to do that, and we just haven't done it yet because it's a headache when all the agents aren't ready to go. Labor is wanting to send a message to Carl. So all the agents have I'm seeing that down here. All of the agents have an inbox and outbox, and so if they see something that's important, they'll try and give it or send it to the agent in question so that they can make adjustments to their own database. So because labor handles the job market, it wants to tell Carl like, hey, like this AI thing might, cause some job displacement, which it really doesn't need to do this. Like Carl's well aware of that. And so I probably won't let it do that. But in the meantime, I do want to give it the rest of this data. And again, I'm getting criticized for letting the workbook getting so low or so stale. All right, that's the labor. Moved on. Next step, I'll move down to Carl now. Yeah, and this has happened to me a lot. I got to get in the right groove, but I name dropped the wrong agent again. Stupid of me. But otherwise, the Carl org is pretty happy with the response. So I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that. And that's Carl done. So again, we're going to repeat the loop, going to go back to Violet. Oh, Orc does not really love that. It says Henry owns this deeply. Okay, what if we allow Henry to keep it? So what's going on here is that metric I wanted Violet to incorporate. It's the put and call ratios, dealer gamma vega. It turns out it's deeply built into Henry's domain and structure. So I was asking, hey, can like Violet just take over this? And Work is pushing back on me right now, letting me know like, hey, that's kind of a bad idea because it's pretty much like built into Henry's skeleton. Like it'll be a lot of work to move that over. So I'm like, okay, fine. Well, can Violet at least mirror this information or like also pull it when it matters? Should she be? I'm not giving it questions at the end because then it can let me know if, hey, maybe it doesn't matter so much and you should just relax. Like maybe, you know. So we'll see what he says. And again, we're going to keep going through my pattern. Gonna move over to Brent. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think that's fine too. But there's a problem with the fix itself. I need to check for my Brent's correction table sites. So when you guys are seeing, or if anyone ever sees these numbers here for the KB rows, all they're doing is they're mentioning the specific row on that knowledge base table I was mentioning earlier. And this is why I kind of find it's valuable, is like we have these, I guess, key points saved in the tables for that they can reference and kind of go back and forth on, rather than having to bring out or describe an entire, you know, point of what we're tracking or the thesis. And so although Orc probably does not want me to share all of these, or this whole response, I'm going to do it anyway because I actually do want to get Brent's response on this. All right, and so now Brent's going to get going on that. I'll move on to Sam. Yeah. Oh boy. And this is why it's good to kind of keep yourself in the process with your agents, because Ueda absence now, the Sam orc is kind of confirming that it's bigger issue than both of these agents were kind of working on. Badly undersells it. So actually, Kazuo Ueda, again, I apologize if I'm saying this name wrong. I'll have to go look it up on YouTube and really figure it out, is actually the BOG governor. So that's pretty much, I think, won't be chairing for this very important BOJ meeting coming up. This is basically like the FOMC of Japan, for anyone who doesn't know. We still expect the hike to happen, even with this. That's okay. I don't know that any of this matters to Sam, because I think it's pretty much more update than the Sam orc was, but I still might save it. Why? Okay. So here's what's nice about having multiple agents that handle different things. Sam is talking about the SPR runway, which is the oil, which is exactly what Brent has been working on this entire session. So rather than have to re-explain everything to Sam that we're seeing or what's going on, I'm going to actually point it to go read some of Brent's recent data regarding the SPR, because I think this will be a good way to handle it. And you guys can kind of see how it's working. So because all my agents save or share the same repo, I'm directing Sam to go read what Brent has regarding the SPR in his specific, folder tree. And I think this will, again, you got to keep your information right. You got to keep your information correct, but this is just a whole lot easier than going through a whole long, research packet or trying to kind of educate Sam on what's going on with the SPR. So it's going to be working on that. Let's ask if I actually do need. I'm just going to ask the orc Sam. If Sam actually needs any of this information regarding Yoda. And we'll see what he says. Gonna move on to labor. I'm not even sure I understand this one. It's asking if it wants to delete the Ode broadcast. I assume that's maybe a broadcast to the other agents. So I think what Labor's talking about right now is messaging the rest of the agent fleet. But because this is a little bit confusing, again, just want to have another set of eyes take a look at it. I'm going to move on to Carl. Carl is still working, so that's always a good feeling when you're doing a setup like this, is that you've gone through all 5 and then your 5th one is still working. So now I'll go back to Violet and maybe I can kind of get ahead of it and we get a good groove of going back and forth. All right, a couple things are happening right now. The orc or shadow version of Violet is responding to my idea here about is Violet looking at Henry's data so it can pull that pull the put call ratios, which she's not, and I guess she's not supposed to unless directed to, because I kind of have strict rules on how the agents work with each other or read each other's domains. I think if it was up to them, they would read pretty much everything in the entire repo. So that's something I want to avoid. She should be getting fresh data, but it kind of seems like she's not. She's instead doing... She consumes the conclusion and not the data set. But the channel is dark. Henry is dormant. Henry has not been run since the 9th. It's the 14th today. So, a little bit of drama. It's only been 5 days, but still, you definitely want, if it's going to be the defining something important to her thesis, you definitely want things up to date. Don't mirror the real exposure of that pillar premise as carried over. All right. All right. Let's give this to Violet and see what she thinks. All right, so what's happening now is I am giving Violet the orc's suggestion and kind of explaining the conversation I was having on the side that she wasn't privy to or wasn't, able to see. Moving on to Brent, and after this many back and forths with this much context, I'm starting to think about maybe closing out these sessions so I can kind of commit all the changes, push it all to live, and then boot everything up again with a clean window. Clean window meaning the context has been cleared out and they can repull everything from GitHub and with just the things that matter. All right, this looks good. Both agents are green. I'm happy about that. So I am just gonna give Brent the okay. Oh, why is that not pay? All right, that has been sent. And now we're going back to Sam. So this dumb UADA thing is we're probably finally done with it. And Sam has finished reading Brent's data on SPR. So between Brent and Sam working together or reading each other's data, and Hawk is just an agent that is tracking Hormuz. It's like Warhawk, like conflict. They're all a little hesitant about the deal that's supposed to be signed today. Actually, today's the Sunday, 6/14, the Iran-U.S. peace deal, and they're all rightly so, in my opinion, a little suspicious that maybe this deal doesn't go through the way we all think it is, and the market may be overpricing that. And, at this point, I'd love to kind of say, market's overpricing it, but the market's going to do what it does, and, they're obviously spending real money pushing oil down, or at least betting on oil to continue to fall. So, someone out there is very confident that the situation will be resolved. I'm not going to get into it deeper than that. Don't know how or who, why, what, when is triggering all that, but we're going to kindly just say like, hey, maybe there is a reason to be suspicious that like things aren't going to end as cleanly as everyone is hoping. So yeah, SPR is just kind of probably a little bit more endangered than Sam originally thought. I'm okay with all of these changes it's suggesting. And by the time I finished reading it, now my orchestration layer for Sam is also kind of writing its response too. But that's still being typed out, and so I'm going to just move on to labor while I wait. Yeah, this is more data for closing out. So I am going to go ahead and give labor the okay to close out with these changes. The changes being delete the broadcast to other agents. The signals are already there in status. That's what's also nice about this is like rather than have my agent doing most of the work, go read everyone else's status, just have the orchestration layer do it and correct them. I'll move on to Carl while he's reading that. Cool. Carl has finished its sweep integration. Status has been updated. Predictions have been updated. Change log. We added an entry, but I'm still going to need to go back at another time and work on that. I'm just going to give them the permission now. Let's push now, if safe to do so. Cool. So Carl will start working on that. I'm going to go back to Violet in the beginning. Violet is still working. I'll go to Brent. Brent is still working. Sam is available. So go back to Sam. Cool. So looks like orchestration has funny. He's referencing an older session. I did a correction that this one just didn't have knowledge of. So I think that's fine. No course correction, same integration as sound. Okay. Yeah, I'll just give Sam all of this. So I'm giving Sam that, but again, as soon as it's done making these changes, I want to start herding the herd to close out cleanly. All right, cool. Carl has pushed. Carl has pushed, so you should be able to read his updates now. Take a look and let me know your thoughts. Just making sure everything's been pushed to live safely. And what's going on here is Carl is trying to get us to prep for the FOMC, which will be June 16th or 17th. That's going to be when, I think they'll meet and talk, and I don't know if we're getting a decision on rates then or not. I'll have to look into that, but I don't want to work on that if it's 2 days out. I just want to get everything here into a good spot. So I'm telling Orc's going to look over your changes. In the meantime, did you follow closeout procedure and get all of those? I'm just making sure. I know I told it to push. I just did not tell Carl to follow his closeout procedure. And the closeout procedure is just a kind of a documented, codified series of updates it makes. I want it to always make sure it touches or updates specific files that the next Carl is going to read in order. Again, this is just is how I kind of enforce the context on the next clean window that's going to boot up as Carl. And as we see here, the orc Carl is going through everything that's been pushed, which is great, like that. And I will go back to Violet and see if we can get this good. And both agents are still just patting each other on the back. Good for you. You both are catching all the mistakes. Okay. I'd resist absorbing dealer gamma into Violet. Man, they just do not want to do this. So I guess since they both want to do it, I will respect their wishes. I just don't love it, though. I think that's a mistake. So we'll see what Orc Violet thinks first, and then I might just say, like, hey, I will work on getting Henry updated so you have, like, the correct numbers to pull from. But in the meantime, can you just get the updated number, or at least do the calculation to find out that number now so you can update your memory or your files? We'll see what it says to that. I'll switch to Brent. Oh, man, Brent is going... Interesting. Cool. So Brent just went through its knowledge base real quick. We have 128 rows active, so that's 128 rows of like lasting memory. 13 confirmed, 4 corrected, 1 stale, 1 superseded, 6 unverified and retired. If I had unlimited time, I would go check to see what those unverified retired are, but honestly, with how much stale data can accumulate in a system like this, I'm just going to kind of let it go. This all sounds good to me, but I'm gonna, again, just double check it, make sure nothing stupid is being done or said here. It's like measure twice, cut once kind of mentality. And we're gonna go back to Sam. Sam accepts the changes the work offered. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right. Sam wants Orc to do some of this work, which is fine. And really what it's doing is just asking for the specific UADA correction or research from above. And then it's going to weave things in as far as the oil into its status update. And then hopefully we can wrap this one up. Labor, I think, might be done. music turned off. Why did that happen? Do some cyberpunk crap. It doesn't really matter. All right. Cool, that's fine. Wants to clean them up his the VX rows. VX are just like to explain is a part of the workbook. So again, it's like one of the more like persistent memory we have going, and that's kind of like just vectors. So different ways we expect that could like move the ball forward. So like basically what could cause a transmission chain to happen. What is a transmission chain? An example for Sam here would be like the insurance companies over there, which are very big investors in U.S. equities and treasuries. All right. I don't know how much any of this matters, to be honest. Oh boy, okay, this is a lot. I'm pretty sure we're kind of ready to close out Sam. Oh, stupid. I made a mistake. Okay. What happened there is I had sent the wrong response to the wrong orchestrator, so it just would have been confused. I hope it only would have been confused and not actually try and respond to it correctly, but I was able to catch it in time and just hit escape real quick and stop it from acting on it. Now I'm sending the correct information to this correct agent. So it's very good and productive to run multiple agents like this, but man, you can very easily forget who you're talking to and send the wrong info to the wrong agent. Okay. Now the orchestration layer is reading his reply, but I'm going to tell him in the meantime, let's start navigating towards a closeout, unless there's something pressing that we need to finish before we do that, which would really only be something that like we have left hanging. Cool. Carl is closed out, but All right, they did see something that's stale here, which is fine. Okay, so we already closed out Carl and everything, but I did notice that the orc agent over here saw some stale data. And so I'm just letting Carl know we might just note it somewhere in his status and handle it next session. But if it's something super easy we can knock out, we'll just do it. All right, so I'll explain what we're looking at here. Violet wants to talk to the manager. So Violet wants to write a prom escalation to say it wants like, hey, Henry's not doing its job. I need this data to do my job, so you got to fix this. And I will fix it for her, but I need to right now the focus needs to be kind of like bringing this session to a close and landing the plane, because as we get into the weeds here, or at least further and further on this session, it's gonna get to the point where I'm gonna be uncomfortable with how much context we've gone through, and you just have to be wary that we might run into some like more chances for more mistakes. You know, the further you get into a context window, the more strained the attention span is going to be of the LLM. And that's is where you just want to be careful. And I was not enjoying that song, so I'm switching it up. All right, that's done. Move on to Brent. Sheesh. These all sound good to me. Just committing the changes that were just made. And this was, oh man. Turn the lights off. All right, so what's going on now? The orchestration layer, orc, whatever you want to call it, for Brent, it cannot read these commits that Brent just made. Brent has only committed them to local. I'm telling Brent to push to the GitHub now, as long as it can do so without hurting the other agents' work, which shouldn't be a problem. So I'm telling Orc, calm down, telling Brent to push it over, and then I will allow it to execute these three things at the bottom, which is just the KB commit, which it's probably going to do right now, the VX, the 350 million floor correction on the SPR. All right, that's fine. Sam, what's going on with you? Cool, looks good, done. All right. Just telling Sam, hey, you don't have to wait for me to give you any more data about UATA. You're good to go. Because I made an off comment like 3 replies ago about like, hey, I'm going to handle that. All I had meant by that was that I'm going to let the other agent know what the situation was, because it wasn't familiar with wasn't caught up with what was going on. Okay. Okay, so I'm just telling them, yep, good, fine. If you want to change strategy, what actually would you want to change for it? Strategy is just like what the strategy document is, like how we plan to use the information for trading if we choose to do so. Right now, we're not really doing anything with this, but it's very concerned about keeping that updated, so I'm going to let it do that. Cool. Labor's closed out. Only thing it's telling me here is that our status is kind of grown a little bloated. We have a cap for 250. It's at 266. So just 16 lines over. There's probably something I cut under it. Cool. It's noted this for next session, so I think we're kind of in a good spot for labor. So I might clear that and exit. Let's see. Did I already give this one to him? All right, I'll give him this. Promote L04 to auto memory. Okay, yeah, you can do that. Let him do that first. So auto memory is like the shared memory between all agents. So each agent has its own individual memory, and auto memory is something they promote if they think it's helpful to everyone else as well. And it's more like structural things rather than anything to deal with content. So here it's just saying, hey, we let workbook drift quite a bit when compared to status, and that for sure will happen because status is something it will read and touch. Every agent will read and touch every single session, whereas workbook might not be adjusted every session. It's like it's a heavier lift. So I tend to only really work on it or update it when there's something notable or specific to add. And as we've seen from today, like pretty much every agent is unhappy with the state of their workbook, which I totally get. I'm working on it. We're going to figure out a way to automate that so they don't have to keep peeing their pants. While it's working on that, I'll move to Carl. Are we good here, Carl? Integration is done and correct. We're not going to do the FOMC packet. Okay. let's hold off. All right. So I'm just telling Carl that we will pick up on that in the next session. Right now, I just want to focus on closing out where we have like a good stopping point, because I want to get all these agents to close out at the same time so I can push at the same time, just make it really nice and clean. One thing I'll point out or notice that's pretty interesting is that all the agents are zeroing in on this FOMC coming up this week. So it's just a catalyst point, like where obviously a rate change would make a pretty massive difference to all the agents and all their domains. It pretty much would affect everything, and it's going to be a pretty big point that we want to, every agent's going to want to like prepare in their own different way. I, as the human in this machine, do not want all my agents making their own different preparations for FOMC, so I'm going to have to be pretty strict about that and only having one of them do it. We'll get there when we get there. Okay, and the orchestration agent did read and see that everything was pushed correctly. One real residual. I already did share that. Yes, that's stale. We already told them. I think we're okay. Right? Yeah, in fact, did we even address that? And yeah, so Carl did acknowledge that the data there was stale, and it looks like it addressed it. Oh. I'm telling Carl's orc or shadow here that, yeah, go ahead and make that FOMC packet. You know, like I don't care. You can do it, and then I'll let Carl look at it the next session. I am telling him to plan it out first. You've probably heard, if you care about this stuff at all, you've probably heard or know about the notion of using the plan mode to have it plan out things. It just helps the agent kind of get things together, rather than dividing one response into planning it out, doing its research, and executing. I'm giving it like a breath here to do that first. That's all that's going on. I always like to confirm with the specific agent I'm working on that I am good to clear out, clear the window. And that will just reset the context for the next Carl to boot up. And so I'm just saying like, hey, we're good. Are we good? Give me an okay and I'll do it. Cool. Carl is done. All right. Violet is confirming. Session is closed out. Good. And he's saying, or she's saying goodbye. I'm just letting Violet Shadow know. I really don't love that Violet is so, what's it called, connected to Henry, because I don't even really love Henry as an agent right now. I think his like role is very like vague, so I don't really love updating him as much as I do these other agents, but I will handle it. Confirming we're good to go. Looks like Brent finished pushing too. Brent's pushed. I'm letting Brent's Shadow know, and then he can check it out, see if he sees anything crazy. I'm not expecting anything to come from it, but it's always good to check just to make sure your commits look clean and you're not pushing any hallucinations or craziness into your live repo. Okay. This one is the last one that's annoying me because I made the mistake of like mentioning I was going to handle this dumb Ueda thing, and it is holding me to that, but I think we're good here. I think we're good to stop. I think the goal eventually is going to be for this process to be automated next. Cool. Labor closed out. Now. Labor's done, but it has this auto memory I just promoted, and I'm just telling it, hey, just go ahead and push that to live 2 because it's operating under the premise that it has to send a message to Chrome to get that done. I was like, no, I'm just going to give you permission to do it here. Just do it. Carl, you're done, right? Completely clean and current. Cool. Good session. Domain sweep, 2 rounds of adversarial review. Awesome. Good job. You don't need to do this. I do it because I just feel like I don't want my agents to hate me. I know it doesn't matter. Cool. Carl has been cleared. So Carl is done for now. All right, cool. All you did was make the FOMC packet. Yes, go ahead and draft. I really don't care about that, but you know, when you're in my position where you're not quite sure what matters and what doesn't, might as well let him do it if he thinks it's so important. You know, it's just preparation. Cool, you're good. There are 2 files Violet has that are untracked, but I don't think these need to be pushed, because I think this is just kind of like some files it created locally to kind of help with a lot of its changes today. Okay. All right, Violet. Goodbye. I'm gonna exit. Bye. Bye. Just to make my life a little bit easier. Brent, are you done? Oh boy, Brent is being a stickler. Still open for when you're ready, not pushed because not done. Okay, he wants to demote one of his. He wants to demote one of his vectors he's tracking. It's a good problem to have because at least he's being discerning about the files he's keeping, but it's a headache for me because I have to figure out if I agree with him. Looks like Brent wants to demote a VX. Thoughts? I am having or agreed. All right, so while Brent's shadow is checking out that demotion request, I am making sure Brent has gone through all his closeout procedure just so we can make sure that's done while I'm waiting for this reply. Just trying to be proactive about the dead time in between responses. Oh man, okay, this is a big reply. What happened here? Strategy edits. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is all nonsense. This is just, I mean, it's not nonsense. He just wants to update something that's, to me, not the most important thing in the world. Okay, so just sharing this so that the shadow Sam can see Sam's plan for strategy, but in the meantime, I'll have Sam read. I know it seems silly, but I'm just keeping both of them updated. They're kind of working on different things right now, which is fine. Labor, I'm sure you're Probably close to done, right, buddy? Auto memming at origin. What's push? Just my one commit. I think other agents uncommitted work should be pushed now. Can you confirm? So labor is closed out and pushed, and I will be ending his session here momentarily. I just want to make sure that he sees that these things, other two files, were pushed. I do have some dogs barking outside. I apologize if you guys can hear it. All right, so everybody's just seen those dumb uncommitted files Violet created. Was there even a review here? I swear, I'm gonna have this random Japanese bank governor's name stuck in my head for the rest of my life. Yep. All right. So let this be a lesson to you guys that you can say something to an agent in like such an handed way, and it'll zero in on it, and it won't let you. It will not drop it until it feels like it's closed that loop. Okay, so what's happening right now is labor is done, but I just wanted him to check on what other files might not have been committed or pushed to origin yet, and it's just those same two files for Violet, and then two inbox messages, and I'm sure these are just freaking Violet telling Walter and Prom, some of my like architectural agents, that like, hey, I'm not getting the information I need from Henry, so I'll have to take care of that. And then this is an auto memory, which I think Brent created, that has probably been handled. So honestly, guys, I'm probably just going to close it out here as I just wrap these last 3 ones up. I don't think anything else interesting is going to happen for the rest of the 5 minutes it takes me to close these out. Just kind of repetitive back and forth. So if anyone does ever see this, thanks for watching. I'll probably try and chop it up and put the interesting parts into a more digestible video than this format, because I know this is just 2 hours of talking about nonsense. So see ya.